Okay. One. We're on. We're live. Okay, we're live. We're live. Okay. Princess Steps, Spring 2023, Week 2, and the topic is shoes. And for those of you that are new that weren't here last week, welcome. I'm Susan Gallagher, Big Cat Kahuna, and my husband John is going to be talking about shoes. So just a couple reminders. Be safe, crossing Front Street. Be safe, be safe, be safe. It's a beautiful day out there, which means there will be more people in the park, quite likely. So we want to, again, have awareness of the other park users, general park users. And also know that next week, the topic is using heart rate and effort as your exercise guidelines. So there will be lots of tips, information, instruction on the week 3 update that you get. So I will do my best to get that out by Friday or Saturday to give you a heads up and to highly, highly, highly encourage you to practice taking your heart rate. And you can practice taking it up here on the carotid artery, or you can practice taking it on your wrist. Either way, I can't say enough how much we encourage you to practice it before week 3 so that you're ready. And you can practice it sitting, you can practice it standing in line at the grocery store, you can practice it while you're out there doing your homework to see what it's like. And or if you have it on your monitor, that's awesome, then there's no guessing, it's pretty objective. But because we have an awesome large group and fewer group leaders this time around, it can be a little bit, complicated out there on week 3 when they're having you take your heart rates, because the group is big and they're going to try to give you some warning, but it's going to be a little tricky to get your heart rate. But that's very, very, very important. So I want to give you a heads up and a request and encouragement to know that it's coming and to read that update when you get it and practice. Are there any questions before I reintroduce John as he's changing the thermostat? Any questions? Okay, well, once again, welcome to the new people. And let's see, turn your phones off, as always, courtesy for speakers and that. I re-looked at the video from the first week. It's pretty awesome. I'm happy that the focus was here. And we had lots of new people. Once again, the energy, positiveness of this group overall is what's going to carry us through. And so I encourage you once again to reach out to me via email or phone, or come into the store if you have questions about the group that you're in. And with that, come on over, John. This is John Gallagher. We're the co-owners. He's going to talk about shoes. I'll do my best to not interrupt.
Unlikely story.
She'll interrupt. That's okay. We're used to it. We've been hanging out together for quite a few years. Welcome, everybody. So glad to see everybody. And it'll be great that you'll be able to see one another tonight, unlike last week where it was still dark. So, I'm going to start off real quick. Everybody's got 2 of these, right?
I hope so.
Okay. So, shoes, the whole concept on shoes is we're trying to protect these. All right? Everybody's got 2 feet. Susan teaches you how to do the princess steps with them, okay? But we sell lots of shoes to help you protect your feet, get the right shoes, have the right amount of cushion, the right amount of support. And we do an awful lot of training. Susan especially really works with all of the employees that we have to really teach them not only stuff about how the human foot works, but also how the shoes match up, what to look for. I'll go through that a little bit towards the end of the talk. But there's a pretty complex process that we go through to teach people how important all this stuff is. Okay? So, human foot. We got 28 bones. Okay? 33 different joints that twist and bend and go all kinds of different directions. Over 100 ligaments, tendons, and a whole lot of sweat glands. Okay? So your feet are pretty amazing. If you've had appointments with podiatrists or you've had any foot issues, you know a lot of things can go wrong with a lot of the different angles and twists and turns and joints and articulations and everything that's happening down here. When you take a step walking consistently over and over, okay, it's about 1.5 times your body weight coming down in force on each foot. Running, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 times your body weight slamming down into the ground. Okay? Over the course of the many years that I've been involved with the running shoe world, sold my first pair of running shoes the summer of 1984. So that's coming up on 40 years. And over the years, we've had just a great opportunity to get to know not only the brands themselves, but the people who are actually designing the shoes. And theories come and go. Over the course of all these years, we've seen the pendulum swing from one direction to the other. Right now we're kind of in that maximal, lots and lots of cushion. But 8-10 years ago, everybody was supposed to be barefoot, right? A little bit of difference here. Okay, so our job really, kind of as store owners, is when a new brand is coming on the wall, or a new concept, or a new kind of shoe, is okay. We've been selling shoes for 30 plus years. Tell us about this theory. Tell us why this is going to work. We're not going to stay in business if half you get hurt. Okay? So really, we do kind of grill the tech reps and the shoe designers and ask them, why is this going to work? What's the science behind it? What's the data behind it? What's going to make sure that this is going to stay protected and you all are going to enjoy your walks, enjoy your runs, and want to do more and more of it. Okay? So, the theories that go into shoes change, but this doesn't. Okay? Protecting the foot. So let me talk a bit about, I got this in here. So this is kind of circa 1980-ish, 80, 82, 83. If I pass this shoe around in one hand and pass this one around, okay, they both look like they got about the same amount of cushion, right? It will blow you away, the weight of this versus the weight of this. So that's one thing, technology-wise, that's changed a ton. And I'm going to pass these around just to kind of show you where this was, something similar to this was kind of the ultimate in protection 40, 45 years ago. Now we've kind of moved more towards stuff like this. Okay. Yeah, it's dramatic, the difference in those two. So let's jump back 10, 12 years. with the whole barefoot. A book comes out, everybody's supposed to go minimal. Everybody's supposed to go barefoot. Okay? Susan, Bob, and I made some pretty, in hindsight, really smart decisions, I think, to kind of just let that whole thing go by. We carried a few on the minimal type shoes, but we didn't go the whole barefoot thing. We're a shoe store. I think we're supposed to sell shoes. And unfortunately, we watched a good portion of our customers try and experiment, try and go barefoot, try and do a lot of stuff like this, and a lot of them ended up hurt. Some of them never came back to running and walking again. Some of them never came back in the store again. So those are the kinds of things that we're always going to be really, really aware of and cognizant of, is who are our customers and what are their needs, and what's the Salem, the whole surrounding Salem market like, okay? We're not Portland, we're not Eugene, we're not Washington, D.C. or L.A. or Chicago, where there's millions and millions and millions of people, okay? We've got about 300,000 people that we draw from around here, and if we lose 10% of those, that's a lot of customers, okay? So it's important for us to stay in touch with you, to stay in touch with the brands, and stay in touch with really what is going on right now in the shoe world, okay? There are times when you're supposed to replace your shoes. Your average shoe now lasts about 300 to 400 miles. If your shoes look like this when you come in, anybody guess whether or not these are done, worn out? Okay. There's no heel left here. This is actually a pair of shoes that came in probably 7 or 8 years ago that the person was running in these. And we kindly said, let's get you a new pair of shoes and give us those. You're not walking out in those. A lot of people, shoes are the most comfortable, the running shoes are the most comfortable shoes you own. You want to wear them for everything, but there's, the cycle of they're done with running and walking. Now the garden shoes, and there are the paint shoes, then there are the remodel the kitchen shoes. Okay.
Creek walkers.
What's that?
Creek walking.
Creek walking, yeah, things like that. So technology-wise, we're playing with a lot of different concepts right now. One brand that is, you guys met last week, the people from Ultra that were here, okay? I want you to notice human foot, right? Base of their shoe, okay? See how there's kind of that similarity. And that the whole concept and what the folks from Ultra were talking about last week is they want to make a shoe that's going to mimic the human foot as much as possible. There's no difference between the heel and the forefoot and a foot. There's no difference in height between the heel and the forefoot in their shoes. Does it work for everybody? No. Does that Hoka that we're passing around work for everybody? No. So having as many shoes on the wall as we do, knowing the intricate differences between each one of them, and kind of who they're designed for, this might be the best shoe in the world for you to protect this, or it might be that Hoka, okay? Or the traditional brands that we've always carried, New Balance, Asics, Brooks. Brooks still, for women, nationwide, is by far the #1 brand. We've never been disappointed with anything Brooks makes. I don't have any in my box up here right now, but I mean, they just are consistent year in and year out. Okay. The big thing that's going on in the world of running right now are carbon-plated shoes. I don't know if everybody can see the the bottom of that shoe. I'll pass this one around to you. Okay.
Oh.
So, see how flexible this is? Like, doesn't bend at all. Okay. The whole concept on this is there's tons of cushion, and this is going to launch you forward. So you've been probably seeing some things about world records being broken and people running faster than they've ever done. I mean, if people have played tennis, you still use the wood rackets, okay, or you more carbon fiber and things like that. Golf, you know, we don't have the solid old persimmon woods anymore. It's, you know, the big-headed drivers and things like that. A lot of technology has changed a lot of sports. And this is one technology right now that every brand is playing with. That I recommend them for people who are very fit and really have a lot of experience and do want to improve their times. Even though a shoe like this or some of the others that we have, they're $200 plus. They're not cheap by any means, and they wear out quickly. But you'll set some PRs if you've trained long, and you know you've trained very intelligently over 20, 24 weeks for your marathon. You know that shoe's going to help you, and that's kind of the whole concept. There's a lot of data that's starting to come out from sports medicine type people, physical therapists, podiatrists, that this is a race day shoe, not day in, day out. Okay? So, you know, if you've got kids, you're like, I got to have the carbon fiber shoe, right? A lot of those shoes, maybe you can wear them a dozen, 20 times. That's it. They're done. Okay. They're not a day in, day out trainer for the most part. There are some models that are, but the full-on carbon-plated shoes, even though they're getting a lot of the press and a lot of the awards and a lot of the attention, they're race shoes for race day. And, you know, half a dozen to a dozen races, period. That's not many miles, and it's not going to last very long. Okay. Other things we talk about. Where are you going to run or walk? Okay. If you're a trail person and all you want to do is go up to Silver Falls or, you know, be on trails constantly, you see the outsoles of these. Okay. Really aggressive. Something like this actually has a plate in there, not for propulsion like the one I was just talking about, but more for protection. So it's just a little plate in there for rocks and roots, and you know, if you're out on the trails, landing on a root, that hurts, unless you got a little bit of protection there. And outsoles made with like Vibram rubber, so that they're grippy when they're wet, and uphill or downhill. The way the teeth are designed, they're going to keep you going forward and not sliding around in the mud. Okay, so I'll pass those around. So you know, those are like more specific to being out in the trails. Shoes like that are still very comfortable, but on a slippery sidewalk or a you know, slick the tiles and things that like over in Riverfront Park or down here on this downtown sidewalks, because those are raised, they're supposed to grip in the mud and in the dirt, but are very slippery on hard surfaces because there's nothing for those teeth to kind of dig into. Okay. So, my friend says these are the best shoes. Okay? My friend said, you can tell me what the best shoes are. Your friend, we tell, all those shoes on the wall are the best shoes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending any money bringing them in, filling up our basement with boxes. Okay, they're all specific, and they're all very different. And having the one that fits you is the right one for you, okay, and the best one for you. There's a lot of popularity. Social media drives an awful lot of stuff now, okay, and there's a lot of like YouTube and TikTok, inspirational things, and some of that stuff's okay. Some of it, we kind of look through the science of it and try and split between actual function and performance and marketing and what's hot. Just because the movie stars are wearing it doesn't mean maybe it's your shoe. You can be just as popular as them if you wear it, though, right? So style and fashion definitely are part of it. We've kind of come in the last 2-3 years from that entire wall. Everyone was making black shoes, black and white, all black. As I said, our experience of being in this business so many years, the pendulum doesn't swing slowly and kind of gradually. It goes from here to here. Okay, so we went from all black shoes, all black and white shoes, to crazy color combinations. You're going to see that for the next 6 or 8 months, maybe into 2024. Sorry, if you don't like colorful, wild-looking shoes. That's pretty much what everybody's going to be putting out for the next year. Which goes in the process of bringing shoes in. A lot of times, if you ask me, "Oh, what's the cost of this shoe?" I might look at you real with a blank stare, because most of what I do for our store is I'm always 6-8 months ahead of the game. Starting end of April, beginning of May, we'll start doing all of our buying for spring of 2024. I know we're only we haven't even quite hit spring of 2023, but that's kind of how things work. Which gives us the insight into what's actually going to be coming, what's going to be changing. Kind of the popular thing right now is stack height, so that amount of cushion that's underneath your foot. Stack heights have gone up considerably in the last 3 or 4 years, where an average shoe now has 28, 30, or between 25 and 30 millimeters of cushion underneath your foot. Definitely helps if you're out there for a long time. Okay. So as the pendulum swings back, we'll kind of keep track of all that and get you the right shoes. Durability. Let's talk about that for a minute. There's the shoes that are up on that top shelf. Those are shoes that actually Bob Ray, our partner, business partner, and still part-timer here, he wore in high school and college. That one shoe that I passed around, the midsole material was ethyl vinyl acetate, EVA rubber. It was as hard the day you bought it as the 1,000th mile you ran on those shoes, and it really didn't give much. Okay, protected a lot of people. Kind of got the running boom going in the 70s and early 80s. When everybody started jogging and then running and racing, and cities started closing down streets and allowing people to run on the streets. A lot of that stuff didn't happen until the late 70s, and those were the kinds of shoes that people were wearing. So much has changed since then. Materials have changed. Manufacturing processes have changed dramatically. Okay, and just like in anything that you've got pretty much household goods. Nothing is made out of heavy steel anymore. All right, it's kind of lightweight plastics and lightweight, newer fibers and newer things. So the technology has moved along with technology of everything else in our world. Right now, like if you get a new pair of glasses, they don't weigh anything, right? Or you remember the glasses you had to wear when you were in junior high, how heavy they were, and it made, dug into your nose, all that kind of stuff. So, things change, and we try and stay up on top of that. All the shoes that you'll see on the wall, we do have some Gore-Tex shoes, but even the Gore-Tex shoes are breathable. So breathability in the materials that are on the upper part of the shoe is very important because I mentioned we have 28 bones and 33 joints. We also have about 200,000 sweat glands in each human foot. So this represents about an hour's activity per foot.
Per foot?
What?
That's how much moisture comes out of your foot. Okay. Believe it or not.
Activity, or is it vigorous?
So that's where socks make a big difference. Okay, we sell an awful lot of different kinds of socks. That's why shoes need to be breathable. So like on days like we've had too many of this late winter and early spring, it's like, I can feel the wind blowing through my shoes. Well, that's good, because that means all that sweat is coming out. Keeping your feet dry through the evaporation of all that, okay, is really important. So the materials are hydrophobic. They don't like water. They don't absorb water. Even on a rainy day, a lot of these shoes, you wear them, and they're going to dry out just in a couple hours after you get out of the rainstorm. Or during the course of a run, they're actually drying as you're walking and running. Another factoid, average temperature of a foot inside a shoe during exercise is about 114 degrees. Okay, same thing. You need breathability, you need that moisture and all that heat to escape so that you're not getting blisters and soggy feet. Okay. So last thing I want to talk about, inserts. There's certain stores that kind of emphasize, oh, you've got a brand new shoe, let's go get a brand new insert. For us, we've always kind of maintained the philosophy of most of the shoes, or all the shoes, are designed to be worn the way they're manufactured, okay? Sometimes for better fit, a little bit more support, like the Superfeet, got a little more arch support to it, enhancing the fit a little bit with different inserts or a little bit of extra, like this one has a little more cushion on the heel and the forefoot in the landing areas, okay? Or a different footbed that actually, this is a brand called Purex that we sell, that there's 3 different levels of how much arch and how much support there is underneath.
Are they soft?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Soft, and then this piece here is a little more supportive, a little stiffer. Each one of these things does add quite a bit to the price of the shoe, but it isn't necessary for everybody. Oftentimes, if people have historically had some issues, or had some surgeries, or had some injuries, then we'll kind of move to the inserts and see if that's going to help things out. You don't interrupt me. Get through the whole thing.
I'm going to.
So, any questions? Yes.
The last couple of years I've been a big lover of Skechers, and now I'm finding out they're not that great. Can you tell me why?
As a brand, Skechers tends to make kind of general market type shoes. Even in the women's clinic, what you're doing is far more exercise than the average person. Believe it or not, there's so Skechers does an awful lot of shoes that look like these that don't necessarily have
The technology.
all the technology and the midsole materials are made so that you can pound every step, every mile that you go, you're going to take between 1,500 and 2,000 steps. So you do 10 miles, 15,000 to 20,000 steps. So a shoe lasting 300 miles, that's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of steps. And the technology testing that takes place in the shoes that we sell, they've got a machine that actually pounds the midsole material like 2 million times to make sure that the compression set doesn't take place. Not so much exacting standards from brands
There
like
was
that.
one other question over here.
I just have a quick question about stability.
Mhm.
Are they still, it's been a long time since I've had anybody look at my feet when I'm running. Do we still look at some stability
Yeah,
issues?
that's what I was going to talk
Yeah,
about.
there's,
If I may.
try and jump in. Sure.
Yeah.
There's,
So, what you can expect when you come here, for those of you that have not been here yet, and I'll repeat the question, is what's the process of coming in here and getting shoes? So we're going to ask you, what are you doing? And we know that you're going to tell us walking or running. Some people might say gym. Some people might say high intensity interval training. Some people might say pickleball. Some people might say hiking, or I'm going on the Camino, which is a long journey. So we're going to ask you, what are you going to use the shoes for? Standing on my feet all day because I'm a teacher. Whatever. And then we're going to ask if you've had any injury problems, and we're also going to have you take your shoes off, roll up your jeans or your pants, and we're going to watch you walk without shoes to see what we see. Are you over-pronating, under-pronating? If you're over-pronating, which is the ankles rolling inward, is it mild, moderate, or intense? And based on that, that's what's going to help us find the shoes. So our staff, we know the shoes. And then we're going to find out what you as an individual consumer, customer, what you need. And the magic happens when those get put together. Okay, so we have to know, we have the product, we know the product, then we see what your needs are, then we give you an opportunity to try that shoe. Now that dark space in the middle of the floor, all the way from the sock wall to the front door and back, is your testing area. Whether you walk or run or do a grapevine or, a pickleball move, that's your test area. And generally, we're going to give you at least 2, 3, possibly 4 different options to compare and contrast. Another thing, our feet do change over the course of time. The met heads, which are the metatarsal joints, splay and elongate. That's a natural aging process. Also, arthritis sets in, so our feet get bigger. One of the most common things that occurs is people walk out of here with half a size to a size and a half bigger, and possibly wide, bigger than what they thought they were. That's probably one of the most common occurrences. And so be prepared for that, because you don't want your toes to be pressurized, having constant contusions. So if you have had shoes where they feel tight, then perhaps you just need to size up. If a person has a size 7.5 or 8 in a casual dress shoe, it's the most common thing for them to be 9, 9.5 in a shoe like this. That's just industry standard. The other thing is, we do our best, all due respect to personal style preferences, we do our best to accommodate that, but our most important consideration for you is comfort. So you want to be comfortable, and that's what's going to inspire you to get out the door and be consistent in your homework. And so that's what we're going to focus on. And it's kind of tricky sometimes to get all the colors and all the sizes and all the, styles and that kind of thing. But John does his best. He does his best to do that. And so that said,
But Shirley's question about stability. So
Just come here and you'll figure it out for me.
yes, but things have changed kind of in the technologies where 8, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there were specific, these are stability shoes, these are neutral cushion shoes, these are motion control shoes. Because of manufacturing techniques now, where a shoe used to have an insert here and a piece over here and a counter,
A
heel
post.
counter back here, they can take that midsole material and have parts of the midsole denser, parts of it cushier, parts of it more supportive. So kind of what a stability shoe used to look like. Nobody's making it. What were the plastic pieces and
there's still a few of them out there with that traditional post. There's still a few, but a lot of times
that's what's vanishing.
that's one of the things that has changed noticeably. So to your point, just come here. And oftentimes too, it's not a requirement, but it's helpful. If you have a shoe right now that has a wear pattern on the bottom, bring it with you, because that wear pattern can help you knowing what that shoe is and what that wear pattern is. And that's the thing I want to say too. Even though a shoe might not look like it's worn out, that's obviously a dramatic example. We're not going to go there. Even though a shoe may look like it's not worn out, it may be worn out. And you may not know until you come in and try a new shoe on. And then the light bulb goes off and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how worn out that shoe was until you tried on a new one. So, was there one more question? Because we're at time.
Very quick question. A comment about all the shoes being made now the way they are. What if you have inserts from your podiatrist that aren't the full insert, just a half insert? I've been advised to take the bottom out, so.
Right. So, when you have a custom insert, if you combine a custom insert with all the support that's in a shoe, it might be overcorrection. So sometimes we need to, just take that into consideration. So by all means, if you have a custom one, you bring it in and we will take that into consideration. Yeah. One more question and then we got to go.
I'll be really quick. I just wanted to comment that I remember some of my core memories from middle and high school are my mom bringing me here every year and running the strip, and it seems like the selection has really grown and varied, and but I remember that very well, and so it's interesting.
Yeah, so for those of you that may not have heard, and I'll repeat it, one of our members here remembers when she was a young girl coming here and going through the process and looking at the wall now and how the wall has changed. So thank you so much. I'm going to sign off now, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, John. Awesome.